You've spent years giving your heart, your time, and your energy to someone who always seemed larger than life. They had a way of making you feel seen, admired, even needed, and for a long time, you believed that connection was unshakable. You poured yourself into the relationship, navigating their moods, their expectations, and the constant push and pull of their attention. And then, one day, quietly, almost imperceptibly, you realized you couldn't do it anymore. You realized that to protect yourself, to reclaim your sense of worth, you had to walk away for good. The moment you left, the world didn't explode. There were no dramatic confrontations or fireworks. You simply stepped into your life, leaving them in the quiet echo of your absence. And it was in that silence, that empty space, where the truth settled in for them, a truth they rarely confront. You were gone forever. They didn't scream, they didn't beg, but inside, everything shifted. Their carefully constructed world, built on control and influence, began to crack. The disbelief, the anger, the subtle attempts to reach back, they all started in that quiet realization. And while the outside world might never see it, the inner storm had begun. As one wise observer once said, some people only realize the value of what they've lost when it no longer belongs to them. For a narcissist, that realization doesn't just sting, it challenges the very core of who they believe they are, shaking the foundation of control, power, and validation they've spent a lifetime building. When a narcissist first realizes that you are truly gone, the initial reaction is almost always one of shock. It's not the kind of shock most people experience in everyday life. This is a psychological shock, the kind that rattles the core of someone who has been used to constant control, admiration, or validation. The sudden awareness that you are no longer available to fulfill that role in their life feels like an earthquake, something that shakes the foundations of their carefully constructed world. They might appear calm on the surface, but inside, their mind is racing, scrambling to understand what just happened. This shock often comes with an intense sense of disbelief. Narcissists operate in a reality where their influence is assumed to be absolute. They believe that with enough charm, manipulation, or pressure, they can bend situations and people to their will. So, when someone leaves for good, it conflicts with their fundamental assumption that they are indispensable, that the world should revolve around them, and that people cannot truly walk away. This disbelief isn't a fleeting moment. It can linger for days or even weeks as they struggle to reconcile the truth with the narrative they've held about themselves and their relationships. In many cases, the disbelief manifests as denial. They may go over past interactions in their mind, searching for a way to undo your departure or rationalize it as temporary. They might tell themselves things like, they'll come back, or they don't really mean it. Even when confronted with evidence that you are gone, a narcissist can cling to the hope that there is some loophole, some way to restore the old dynamics. Their mind resists the permanence of your absence because accepting it would mean acknowledging a loss of control, and that is something they find almost intolerable. This period of shock is not just emotional, it's also cognitive. Narcissists have invested heavily in maintaining a certain image of their relationships. They have a story they tell themselves about how others depend on them, how they are admired or loved unconditionally. When you leave, it doesn't just break a connection, it shatters the story they've built about themselves. The disbelief is partly a defense mechanism, a mental buffer against the overwhelming reality of losing someone who played such an important role in their psychological ecosystem. Another aspect of this shock is the humiliation they feel internally. Narcissists often hide their vulnerability behind a mask of confidence, but losing someone permanently exposes a fracture in that facade. The disbelief can quickly evolve into a sense of personal affront. They wonder how it could happen, why you would leave, and what it says about them. In their minds, being left is not just a logistical or relational issue. It is a reflection of their worth, their image, and their control over the world around them. The shock is intertwined with a bruised ego that struggles to process the fact that someone could defy them and walk away without permission. Interestingly, this disbelief can also lead to obsessive thinking. They may replay every conversation, every moment, and every interaction, trying to pinpoint where they went wrong or how they failed to prevent your departure. Even though they often refuse to take genuine responsibility, this obsessive rumination is part of the shock response. Their mind is trying to restore the sense of order that has been disrupted. They may go so far as to imagine scenarios where you return, or they might plan strategies to regain influence, all of which is fueled by the initial disbelief and inability to accept your absence. It's important to note that this shock is usually invisible to the outside world. Narcissists are adept at hiding their inner turmoil, especially when they think it might make them look weak. To friends, colleagues, or even casual observers, they might appear unaffected, as though life continues as normal. But underneath that exterior, the mind is in turmoil. The disbelief simmers quietly, driving emotions and behaviors that may seem subtle or mysterious to others. Small gestures, indirect messages, or sudden attempts to reinsert themselves into your life are often rooted in this hidden shock. Over time, the intensity of this disbelief may ebb, but the impact remains. Even as they adjust to your absence, the initial shock leaves a lasting impression. It is the moment when the narcissist realizes, often for the first time, that their control is not absolute and that people can leave permanently. That recognition is unsettling and can trigger a cascade of other emotional and behavioral responses, from attempts to regain control to subtle acts of sabotage or emotional manipulation, all stemming from the initial disbelief and inability to process your departure fully. Ultimately, the shock and disbelief are a mirror to the narcissist's inner fragility. While they may project confidence, superiority, or detachment, the moment you leave permanently exposes a vulnerability they rarely show. It's a profound realization that someone could reject their influence and that their presence is not indispensable. This shock is not just about losing you, it's about confronting a truth they have spent a lifetime avoiding, that the world does not revolve around them and that even they cannot control everything or everyone. When a narcissist realizes that you are gone for good, one of the most intense emotions they feel is the loss of control. Control is the lens through which they see the world. It is the foundation of their relationships and their sense of self. They are used to orchestrating how people behave around them, shaping narratives to their liking, and receiving constant affirmation. Losing someone permanently disrupts that sense of order. Suddenly, the narrative they believed in, the one where they are the center, the one who shapes everything, is shattered. The loss of control is not just about someone leaving physically or emotionally, it cuts deeper. It is a violation of their internal belief system. Narcissists often assume that people cannot truly say no to them or reject them completely. When faced with your permanent departure, they confront the reality that their influence is limited. This recognition is unsettling because it contradicts the story they tell themselves about being indispensable, admired, or even feared. Control in their mind is tied to identity. Without it, there is a fracture, a sense of disorientation that can feel almost panic-inducing. In this state, narcissists often experience a kind of desperate anxiety. They may try to figure out what went wrong, but their concern is rarely about understanding your needs or emotions. Instead, it revolves around restoring their grip. Thoughts may whirl in their mind. How do I get them back? What can I say or do to regain influence? Even small gestures, like sudden messages, indirect contact through mutual friends, or careful monitoring of social media, are often attempts to reassert control. Every action is measured, calculated, and aimed at reclaiming the power they feel slipping away. This need for control is closely tied to validation. Narcissists feed on the sense that people depend on them or look to them for approval. When you leave permanently, that validation disappears. They can no longer dictate your emotions, responses, or reactions, and the absence of this influence creates a vacuum that is both confusing and threatening. They may feel lost, not in a personal or reflective way, but in the sense that their world no longer operates according to their design. This lack of control can trigger subtle but relentless attempts to regain it, sometimes disguised as concern, care, or curiosity. The loss of control can also bring about irrational or obsessive thinking. Narcissists may replay events, interactions, and conversations repeatedly, searching for ways to reclaim the dynamic they once had. Their mind becomes a looping space of if-only statements and hypothetical scenarios. This isn't about introspection in a healthy sense. It's about restoring power and influence. They rarely stop to consider your perspective or respect your autonomy. The focus is on controlling the narrative to protect their ego. At times, this loss of control can manifest in more covert or passive-aggressive ways. A narcissist might subtly manipulate circumstances to provoke a reaction from you, test boundaries, or indirectly reinsert themselves into your life. They might also attempt to undermine your confidence or stability from afar, not necessarily out of hatred, but out of the compulsion to feel in command. Even when their actions appear calm or harmless, underneath lies a silent struggle with the reality that they are no longer in control. Emotionally, the experience can be disorienting. Narcissists are often deeply uncomfortable with vulnerability. Losing control exposes them to emotions they are not used to processing: uncertainty, helplessness, and fear. Because they cannot tolerate these feelings openly, they may mask them with anger, sarcasm, or feigned indifference. Yet inside, the anxiety and discomfort can be profound. It is a stark confrontation with a truth they rarely acknowledge: that they cannot manage every outcome or dictate every relationship. The loss of control also affects how they see themselves. Narcissists construct an identity around being dominant, admired, or indispensable. When someone leaves permanently, it is a direct threat to that identity. Their mind may scramble to reinterpret the situation to preserve self-image, but no amount of rationalization can fully restore the control they once had. This tension between the reality of loss and their need for dominance creates inner conflict, a kind of silent turmoil that fuels many of the behaviors you might observe afterward. Interestingly, the loss of control is often slower to process than the initial shock. While disbelief hits quickly, the understanding that their influence is permanently diminished seeps in over time. They may oscillate between attempts to regain control, moments of frustration, and brief periods of apparent calm. This ongoing struggle highlights how deeply the concept of control is embedded in their psyche. It is not just about manipulation in the moment. It is about maintaining an overarching sense of power and significance that has now been challenged. Ultimately, the loss of control is one of the most defining experiences for a narcissist when someone leaves forever. It is not simply about someone walking away. It is about the erosion of the structures they rely on to feel safe, important, and powerful. Every thought, behavior, and subtle attempt to influence the situation afterward is rooted in this fundamental fear. The fear that they cannot manage the world as they once did, and that someone's permanent absence has revealed a vulnerability they rarely admit exists, even to themselves. When a narcissist realizes that you are truly gone, one of the most intense and often overlooked reactions is a hidden anger. This isn't always the explosive, outwardly aggressive anger that people might expect. In many cases, it's a quiet, simmering rage that lingers beneath the surface, shaping thoughts, behaviors, and subtle interactions without being immediately visible to others. It is a rage born from frustration, humiliation, and the sudden awareness that someone has escaped their influence. This anger stems from a deep sense of entitlement. Narcissists grow accustomed to having people in their lives comply with their wishes, seek their approval, or respond to their needs. When someone leaves permanently, it challenges their core belief that the world should conform to them. The very idea that a person could reject, defy, or move on without them triggers intense irritation. They may feel cheated, as though the rules they operate by were broken or disrespected. This breach of expectation is experienced as a personal affront, and anger naturally follows. Often, the rage is internalized rather than displayed openly. Narcissists are skilled at maintaining a composed exterior, especially if outward expressions of emotion might compromise their image or make them appear weak. While they might not yell, throw things, or lash out physically, the intensity of their feelings is real and potent. They may dwell on perceived slights, replay interactions in their mind, or imagine ways to retaliate, all of which reinforces the quiet, ongoing anger that can persist for months or even years. Part of this anger is tied to humiliation and bruised pride. Being left behind challenges the narcissist's carefully curated self-image. They have spent a lifetime cultivating the impression that they are essential, desirable, and influential. When someone leaves, it contradicts that narrative and exposes a vulnerability they rarely acknowledge. The hidden rage is often a defense mechanism, a way to protect themselves from the discomfort of feeling powerless or rejected. By channeling it inwardly, they attempt to maintain control over how others perceive them, even as they struggle with feelings they cannot express openly. This hidden anger can also fuel obsessive thinking. Narcissists may replay every word, gesture, and moment, trying to pinpoint how they were wronged or how they could regain their influence. Even when they are outwardly calm or indifferent, their mind may be consumed with scenarios of retribution or attempts to reassert dominance. This internalized rage is rarely productive or healthy. It is focused on restoring a sense of control and validating their ego rather than processing the situation realistically. Interestingly, this anger is often directed more at themselves than at the person who left, though they rarely admit it. They might blame themselves for making a mistake, for failing to manipulate effectively, or for allowing someone to escape their influence. Yet, because narcissists cannot comfortably sit with vulnerability or shame, these self-directed feelings quickly turn into irritation, resentment, or simmering anger. They mask the sense of personal failure with externalized judgment, finding ways to frame the loss as the other person's fault or as an injustice. The hidden rage can also manifest in passive or subtle ways. Narcissists may engage in behaviors designed to provoke a reaction without seeming aggressive. They might make indirect comments, spread rumors, or use mutual connections to gauge your response. These actions are often carefully calculated, designed to reassert influence or remind you that they are still present in some way. The rage itself is rarely visible in the moment. It is encoded in behaviors that feel manipulative or unsettling, reflecting the intensity of the feelings they are trying to contain. Emotionally, the hidden anger creates a constant undercurrent of tension. Narcissists are rarely able to fully experience or express their feelings in a straightforward manner. Instead, the anger simmers quietly, influencing thoughts and behaviors while remaining largely invisible to outsiders. This simmering state can be exhausting, fueling anxiety, obsessive thinking, and even a sense of restlessness. The loss of someone who once validated or reinforced their ego is a profound disruption, and the anger is one way they cope with that disruption without showing vulnerability. Over time, the intensity of the hidden rage may fluctuate. There may be moments when they appear calm or even unaffected, followed by periods of subtle agitation or passive attempts to regain attention. The anger is never entirely absent. It simply shifts form and expression depending on circumstances and their perception of control. They may even convince themselves that they are justified in their feelings, reframing the situation to support a narrative where they are the wronged party. Ultimately, the hidden anger or rage is a reflection of the narcissist's inner fragility. It is a response to the sudden loss of control, the challenge to their self-image, and the confrontation with a reality they cannot easily manipulate. While it may remain invisible, it influences their thoughts, decisions, and behaviors in ways that are subtle yet pervasive. It is a reminder that beneath the exterior of composure, charm, or indifference lies a powerful emotional response. one driven by entitlement, frustration, and the inability to accept that someone has truly chosen to leave forever. When a narcissist realizes that someone has left for good, one of the most common reactions is the compulsion to reclaim or haunt that person. This isn't always dramatic or overt. Often it's subtle, calculated, and rooted in a need to reassert influence. They have spent years shaping the dynamics of the relationship to center around themselves. So the idea that someone could walk away permanently feels like a direct challenge to their control. Their attempts to reach back are rarely about reconciliation in the healthy sense. Instead, they are often about testing boundaries, provoking reactions, or reminding you that they are still a presence in your life. These attempts can take many forms, and they often start quietly. A narcissist may reach out through indirect channels, liking a social media post, commenting cryptically, or sending an unexpected message that seems casual but is loaded with intent. They may check in through mutual friends or acquaintances, gathering information and trying to gauge your current emotional state. This is not curiosity born from genuine care. It is curiosity born from the need to measure the extent of their remaining influence and to see if they can provoke a response that reaffirms their power. Even when they appear to have moved on outwardly, these attempts often persist behind the scenes. Narcissists are highly attuned to perception and image. They may present themselves as unaffected, confident, or even superior, but underneath this mask is a strategic effort to reclaim a sense of control. Every indirect interaction is a test, a small experiment to see if they can penetrate the walls you've built. They want to know, are you thinking about me? Are you unsettled? Can I still matter in your life, even from a distance? There is also a psychological aspect to these haunting behaviors. Narcissists often struggle to process the permanence of loss. The concept of someone leaving for good challenges the very foundation of their worldview. That people cannot truly reject them, that their influence is absolute. To cope with this, they engage in subtle strategies to remain in your life psychologically. Even if you don't respond, the act of reaching out, commenting, or observing can give them the illusion of continued relevance. It is a way to manage their anxiety about being left behind. These actions can sometimes escalate if they feel particularly threatened or humiliated by your absence. A narcissist may begin to craft situations designed to provoke attention, guilt, or confusion. They may drop messages that hint at shared memories, use ambiguity to create curiosity, or imply that you are missing out on something. This is not healthy communication. It is a form of manipulation intended to make you react and, in turn, validate their sense of importance. The haunting is a calculated effort to regain emotional leverage, even without the possibility of a true relationship. Interestingly, these attempts are often layered with subtle psychological tactics. Narcissists are skilled at testing boundaries without overt confrontation. They might act as though their behavior is innocent, casual, or even caring, but there is almost always an underlying intent. They are seeking a foothold, an opening, or a spark of emotional response. It is not about reconciling or understanding your perspective. It is about reclaiming the influence that they feel has been lost. The haunting can also manifest in more passive ways. Narcissists may make changes in their life that they know you will notice, posting certain photos, achievements, or updates in places they know you will see them. These actions are subtle signals designed to trigger curiosity, reflection, or even jealousy. They are a quiet reminder that they exist, that they are still in control of aspects of the narrative, even if they cannot control you directly. Every effort is part of a larger psychological strategy to maintain relevance and influence. Emotionally, the narcissist may experience a mixture of frustration, anxiety, and excitement during these attempts. Frustration comes from the realization that they cannot fully reclaim what has been lost. Anxiety emerges from the uncertainty of your response or the permanence of your absence. And excitement, in a twisted way, comes from the sense of engagement, however indirect, that these efforts produce. It reinforces the dynamic they are accustomed to, giving them a temporary sense of proximity and power. Over time, these attempts may become less frequent or more refined, especially if they recognize that no direct response will be given. However, even after months or years, subtle haunting behaviors may continue, hidden in social media interactions, mutual connections, or casual mentions. The purpose is not reconciliation. It is the ongoing struggle to regain control, to assert influence, and to maintain a psychological foothold in a life that has otherwise moved on without them. Ultimately, the attempts to reclaim or haunt are a reflection of the narcissist's inner struggle. They are confronting a reality they rarely accept, that someone has walked away permanently, defying their control. Every subtle action, every indirect message, and every lingering presence is a way to navigate the loss, to assert importance, and to reestablish some semblance of influence. Even in their absence, these behaviors reveal how deeply the narcissist struggles with being left behind and how central control and validation are to their emotional world. When a narcissist realizes that you are gone permanently, one of the less obvious but deeply impactful reactions is emotional numbness. This isn't indifference or a lack of feeling in the ordinary sense. It is a protective mechanism, a way for them to cope with the intensity of emotions that they are not equipped to process openly. The realization that someone has left forever is a profound disruption to their sense of control and identity. For a narcissist, feelings of vulnerability are threatening, and emotional numbness becomes a shield against the overwhelming truth of loss. This numbness often appears as detachment. They may go about their routines as if nothing has changed, maintain a composed exterior, or even project confidence and success. To the outside world, they can seem unfazed, unbothered, or indifferent. But this surface calm masks a storm of unprocessed emotions beneath. They are internally struggling to reconcile the permanence of your absence with their worldview, which assumes that they are central, influential, and indispensable. The numbness is their way of buying time to process a reality that challenges every assumption they hold about themselves and their relationships. Shock and numbness often occur together. The initial shock of realizing someone is gone forever can be so intense that their mind temporarily shuts down emotionally. They may feel disoriented, lost, or disconnected from their usual sense of self. It's as if the ground has shifted beneath them, and they cannot immediately grasp how to respond. In this state, they may withdraw from emotional engagement entirely, not because they do not care, but because the intensity of their feelings is too much to handle consciously. Emotional numbness becomes a coping strategy for navigating the gap between reality and expectation. During this period, narcissists may exhibit behaviors that seem unusual or inconsistent. They might oscillate between appearing cold and distant and engaging in subtle manipulations or testing behaviors. This is because the numbness is not a complete absence of emotion. It is a layering of suppressed feelings beneath a controlled exterior. They are still processing anger, sadness, frustration, and fear internally, but they do so in a way that prevents these feelings from being visible. The emotional numbness serves as both a barrier and a buffer, allowing them to maintain a semblance of control while their inner world attempts to make sense of the loss. Numbness also protects their ego. Narcissists are extremely sensitive to anything that threatens their self-image, and the permanent departure of someone close is a direct challenge. Feeling the full weight of grief, rejection, or helplessness would force them to confront vulnerabilities they are deeply uncomfortable acknowledging. By emotionally shutting down, they can distance themselves from feelings of inadequacy or failure. This detachment allows them to maintain the illusion of composure and superiority, even as they struggle privately with the reality that they have lost someone who was significant to their sense of validation. At the same time, the numbness is often accompanied by obsessive internal processing. They replay events, analyze interactions, and imagine alternate scenarios, all while maintaining an outwardly calm or indifferent demeanor. Their mind is busy trying to reconstruct the narrative of the relationship in a way that preserves their sense of self. This internal processing is rarely productive in a healthy sense. It's not about gaining insight into the other person's needs